All right. Thank you all for attending. My name is Jerry Bartels. I'm a Senior Infrastructure Technical Specialist with Autodesk. The presentation we're going to walk through today is InfraWorks 360. We're going to look at some of the traffic simulation functionality that's available. And I've got listed on my slide here as a PowerPoint free zone. In other words, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the application and spend the bulk of our time in there rather than looking at some slides. So I'm going to drop out of this. And first thing that we'll do, we'll hop into InfraWorks 360. And I'm going to start, there's a project that I want to look at, and I'm going to see if we can do this from start to end completely we'll begin with Model Builder. There's a intersection that's got some challenges as it relates to traffic, and we're going to look at InfraWorks and see if maybe by adjusting the layout or modeling it a bit differently, if we can try and resolve that. So we'll find that location out on the map. So we're looking at Carpentersville, Illinois. It's actually an area just north of where I live. And we're looking for an intersection, here we go, at South Washington and East Main Street. So with that area on the screen, let's go ahead. We'll grab that area with Model Builder. And that'll be the area that we'll be analyzing for our presentation today. So we'll go ahead and select that, a little under 1 square kilometer. We'll call this 2016-04. Today's the 29th, and we'll say Webcast. We'll go ahead and create our model. Now that should take a couple minutes to create. So while we're waiting for that, I want to give you a little bit of a flavor of what we're working on. So if I come back and look at my folder here, I've got the intersection specifically, if we blow it up, looks like this. So what winds up happening, we'll start with this road first, that's going kind of southwest up to northeast, is it's two-way traffic till it reaches this point, and then it's one-way as it moves up on the other direction. What this does is this connects up with a bridge, and this is a very popular place at the end of the day, because at the end of the day everybody's trying to get home and they need to get access to the bridge to get back to the other side. They've done a lot with signage, as you can see, with one-way streets and stop signs to try and improve the traffic flow in this area so that can accommodate as many people as possible in the short amount of time as possible for them to cross the bridge. So what winds up happening is these folks, and pay no attention to the stripes and to some extent the arrows for right now, just to see how this works. Folks that drive in this direction drive up unimpeded till they reach this intersection, then they've got a stop sign. They can make a decision which direction they want. Same from the other direction as a stop sign. Coming into this area is a stop. They can decide whether they go left or right. This obviously is a one-way. They stop, they can go left or right. Everything else is pretty much just a free flow. They can drive and go where they need to go. All right, looks a little bit confusing, I'm sure, just looking at the image here. So to give you a little bit more of a flavor of what's happening, actually went out and drove this so we could take a look at it here. So as we look at that, moving in that direction, you can kind of see on the right the green dot that's showing my location as I come up into that intersection. And this is something that was done about 11 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't a lot of traffic at that time of the day, much like most cases. If you're in the morning rush hour or the evening rush hour, that's when you're going to have your peak traffic volumes. You have the tendency to have issues. But just to give you an idea of what this intersection looks like and how it functions, you know, I'll pull up to the corner and then I'll turn and I'll head, and you'll head out and you'll see the bridge where folks are. Their main objective is to get to the other side of town. Now, just to give you a flavor of what that looks like at the end of the day, I'm going to advance this a little bit further on, and we'll take a look at looking at the same intersection about 5:40, you know, 5:45 in the evening during rush hour. You can see as I start to approach, you know, anywhere near that intersection, I immediately hit tail lights, and if we look at the video on the side, I'm actually, you know, in this area, which is several hundred feet back from the intersection itself, and then it turns into essentially gridlock. The reason that exists is because, once again, there's a lot of people moving into that area. There's few bridge crossings, and this is one that most folks go to. There's a significant backup from two directions, and then it's also causing a smaller backup from the east coming back to the west, with everybody's objective trying to get across the bridge. So negotiating through that intersection can be quite challenging. Some of the things the community has looked at to try and fix it obviously has been signage. That's not been doing a lot. Other things that they've talked about is maybe would a roundabout help, maybe reconfiguring some of the streets. So what I want to do is, with my InfraWorks 360 today, we'll model that and we'll start to experiment with the traffic simulation to see what we can do to work with that. So I come back to my InfraWorks 360. I see my model builder has already returned my model. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll download that from the cloud. And I should get a representation of the geometry in that area, its existing conditions. So it'll pull from OpenStreetMaps the roads that exist or that are available, any buildings that are available, as well as the aerial photography and the elevational information. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to look at the intersection itself to get started, and I've got some sidewalks here that are probably larger than what they need to be. Rather than go through and resolve those, I'm going to kind of just pull those out of my model for right now. The area that I'm interested in is just the primary intersection here in the middle. So we'll remove some of that. I got a little bit of a dip in the roadway. Let's take and go ahead and edit. We'll start to clean some of this up quickly. Drag this guy down here. That looks a little bit better. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is to remodel or to work with this, I need to convert it to design roads. And if anybody's worked with InfraWorks 360 before, we can do that individually. And now through the traffic simulation, we can actually do it automatically on a number of roads. So I'm going to go to the simulation tools, and it's going to ask me to click in Canvas to define a traffic study area boundary. I'm going to pick a point here, and then we'll back up a little bit. As I pick points to define the boundary, any road that I cross, it's automatically going to create a zone. And what that zone is going to do for us is we can start to simulate traffic coming out of or into those particular zones. So since my traffic has a tendency to back up pretty far down here, we'll come down in this direction and pick that point to wrap it up. It says, hey, there's planning roads inside there. Would I like to convert those? Absolutely, I would. It'll go through and convert all of those to design roads in one command. Very nice side benefit of the traffic simulation. So we'll see that we've got intersections created now that we can do a little more with than a standard one. So let's come through and start to clean this up a little bit to accommodate how our graphic was laid out initially with the one-way roads. So I'm going to start by taking maybe this road and ending it at the intersection here. And then by default, these came in from Model Builder as 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction. Let's start to modify some of these a touch. We'll set this road, I'm going to set it lanes forward to 2. And we'll set lanes backward to 1. Or I'm sorry, 0, because it's only going to be one way. So we'll do that. Now the reason that we're doing this is because the arrows that are created at the intersection will help us as we lay out or start to model the actual traffic flow or the simulation in that area. So I want to go through, and I can't just say that it's 2 lanes, I'm good to go. I want to make sure that those lanes have some intelligence as far as direction. So we'll say 0 for lanes backward. We'll do lanes forward, set that up to 2. And now that that's done, let's go ahead and remodel this a little bit. We'll come up to Edit. We'll set this to Geometry, and we'll start to line this up. If I'm going to go one way into 2-way, one of the best ways is to try and line that up with the opposing side of the street. That will help line that up pretty well. We'll drag this down in this direction. That'll be pretty good for now, and then let's come over here and let's make some corrections to this guy. So we'll do that, attempt to clean this up, and let's take and move this guy over, and we'll make one more adjustment here. All right, we're just doing this quick right now, just get something that's close. That'll work for me for right now. The other thing that we'll do is I need to start looking at the arrows themselves, because once again that will start to assist me as I model the intersection as it relates to traffic simulation. So let's grab the intersection. Now, one thing that you did see is it was one way in either direction. If you live there, no one ever makes a right-hand turn at this street, not if you live there, because if you make the right turn, you come down, you hit the stop sign, and you start backing up traffic, where the people that would be behind you that went up and around the corner, there is no traffic control that would cause them to stop. So literally you would sit here and wait and watch the people that were behind you go past. So instead of giving people a choice in two directions, the modeling engine's going to take the shortest path. So what I'm going to do is remove this as an option. So we'll select my intersection here. We'll go ahead and go into lane markings. And if I pick this guy, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm just going to allow people to go straight or to the left. That'll work pretty good. Coming down straight either direction, that works. Straight either direction, that works. This one does as well. So does this one. Now this one, if you remember from the graphic, was one way. It only went from west to east. I could change this to a one-way street as well. However, we're going to look at a roundabout, and one of the limitations with the roundabout geometry right now is I can't have a leg that's one way, but that's okay. We will just reduce the amount of traffic flow that we would have in this area, and when we assign the vehicles to it, we will just not have any vehicles coming from that direction. So I'll just limit it and say that it can go straight. Once again, it's not going to serve any purpose because we'll have no cars coming from that direction. This looks good. These arrows look good, as does this down here. So I think we're in pretty good shape with respect to laying this out. So our next step is we're going to come back to traffic simulation. It highlights our area for us so we can see our zones. The first thing that we need to do is it's going to be performing this process up in the cloud. So what I'm going to do is sync my model to the cloud. It'll take a couple of moments to do that. We'll go ahead and sync. Once again, as Jeff and I put this together, we wanted to make sure that we were doing as much as possible live, so the you could see the function and how long it takes for this to process. So that's completed. We'll say OK. With that up into the cloud, I'm going to come down and I'm going to select right-click, and I'm going to go into the Traffic Analyst panel. So it tells us we need an internet connection. That's fine. It's going to load up that Analyst panel, and then we can start to model our existing conditions to see what that looks like. So we'll give that just a minute to roll through. Now, as I'm doing the webcast today, I'm kind of flying solo. I do have Jeff in the background. He's serving more as a technical liaison today, in that if there's any issues technically, that he can hop in and tell me that there's a problem, and we can go from there. As I'm going through, if you have any questions, I mean, the purpose of doing a 30-minute presentation is to kind of create the scenario where you're looking over my shoulder. If you would have any questions specifically about what we're doing, we'd strongly encourage you to engage your Autodesk authorized reseller, and they'd be happy to assist you with this. So I'm in. I've got the panel up. I've got my model showing, and then I've got some different things that we can do in my display. I can do a quick simulation, which is what we'll do today. We can also simulate during peak hours, short morning, long morning, also evening events. What we want to do first to start is we want to set up some demand. The demands are going to be the amount of traffic coming to and leaving these different zones. So when I select, I've got a number of zones available. So we'll select the first one here, and we can see that from that point, what it essentially wants to know is how many vehicles are going to go from that location to the other location. All right, typically we would do this with a traffic study, and then we would determine a percentage on that to figure out peak flows. Basically what I'm going to do here is just put in some values for just the quick event that we're going to simulate. So in this particular situation, coming in, there's not going to be many cars that are going to loop up and go around. We'll just say that there might be a couple. The folks that are going to want to cross the bridge, I'm going to set that up at 100. The folks that are going to go in and up to that direction, maybe 5. I mean, it's a pretty congested area. Folks wouldn't necessarily be coming in to make that maneuver. They could get to that location from another point. This direction, maybe we'll have another 5 that are going to come down and go that way, and then maybe 2 that are going to go off in that direction. All right, let's do the same thing for the other ones. Now in this case, because that's a one-way street like we talked about before, I'll have no traffic coming out of any of those areas. So I'm going to set those all to 0 because traffic will only go the opposite direction. Nothing will come out of that zone. In this case, coming back across the bridge, we'll say that folks coming over and then going up in that direction, maybe we'll have 10. Folks going straight through, maybe we'll do 20. Folks that are going to the left, we'll say you're going to have 50 going that way. Folks that are coming to the right or going south, I'll say that I'm going to have 50 going in that direction. And then there'll be a couple that are going to come up and then make the left over there. Take and throw a few more in here coming this direction. There'll probably be a handful that are going to do that. We'll say 5. Small number are going to do that. We'll 5 again. We'll say 50. Or I'm sorry, in this case they're going across the bridge. We'll throw that up at 100. Going straight through, 5. There's other ways that they could do that without driving through the congested area. Maybe a couple would go that direction, and then we'll do the last one. We'll say 5. We'll say 5 going up that way. The bulk is going to go across the river at 100. Straight through, maybe 5, and then the last one, that direction, we'll say maybe 2. So when I'm all done, I've set up the what are called trips, potential 480 trips for this particular area that'll be simulated. So we'll say, okay, next thing I need to do is I need to define the actual intersections. So we have demand, what vehicles are going to be driving through. The next thing I'm going to do is set up intersections. And if we look at that, there's a number of intersections that we'll work with. So we'll start with intersection number 1. And I'm going to go over here to layers, and I'm going to turn off my image. And if we zoom up on a intersection so that I know quickly which one's 1, 2, and 3, we'll go ahead and select 1. We'll go ahead and select, there's 3. And I've got something that's bumping into my zone down there at the end. All right, here's 1. We'll deal with 1. Actually, let's deal with 2 first. If we deal with 2, you see from our arrows, it's automatically started to assign whether these are stop signs, yield signs. And as we go through, we'll select and we can see the turning movement and we can confirm what's happening. In those 2 directions, it is a stop. In this direction, it's a yield. Might be free flow. Those folks don't necessarily need to worry about stopping. Free flow, they drive straight through, as do the other direction. These guys are going to turn. We'll probably say yield, because in case there's somebody coming the other way. That is a stop sign, as is this direction when they go through, and making a right-hand turn, that's a stop as well. So that intersection's been modeled. I'm pretty cool with that. Let's go to intersection 1. This one by default has, if I've got these lines in here, it's set up for timings on red lights, green lights. We can do protected lefts. In our case, I'm not going to worry about any of that because I don't have any traffic signals. So instead, just the signage. In this direction, it's going to be free flow. Those folks will come up and to the right. Free flow straight through. I'm going to say free flow going back the other way. However, you saw when we modeled it, we had no vehicles doing that. With the orange arrow here, that is going to be a stop sign. The orange arrow, this will also be a stop sign. This will be free flow. All right, once again, it's getting all of these movements based off of what we set our arrows to. So I'm going to set this as a stop sign from the other direction. This was also a stop sign. They had to wait. Going straight through, that was a stop sign. And then the last one was a stop sign as well. All right, let's go to intersection 1, intersection 2, intersection 3. It too has been modeled for us based off the arrows. Free flow, yield, that's good. Free flow, I don't know if they need to yield. We'll say free flow, and yield definitely because they're going to have cross traffic. We'll say apply, and I'll say OK. I'm going to go ahead and turn my images back on. We'll back up, and what we can do is, just to make sure here, I'm going to look at my intersections. Actually my intersection 1, I did not hit apply to keep those. Let me do those again very quickly. Set my images here. I can tell because I still have green arrows that indicate that I've got a stop sign or a traffic light. So we're going to go free flow. We are going to go free flow, stop sign. Figures I would do this on the one that required the most information. We'll say free flow. We'll come down a little bit further for the remaining ones. Stop sign, stop sign, stop sign, and stop sign. We will apply that. There we go. So much better. Let's take a look at 1. Looks good. Look at 2. Those look good. 3. Everybody's happy. We'll say apply and OK. I'm going to turn my images back on. We'll come back to simulation, and at this point I can press the button, which will automatically start routing traffic through my model. Now it'll look a little choppy on your end. If you watch the video afterwards, it's actually quite smooth on mine. All right, I start to see some of what I experienced out in the field, but some I didn't. I didn't have people necessarily backing up in this direction waiting to make this corner. All right, so the reason is it's not necessarily opening up to allow these folks to make that corner. So let's adjust that very quickly. We'll go back to control on my intersections, and I'll go to intersection 2. I believe that was 2. There we go, and I'm looking for that direction. That's why I turned my images off so that I can clearly see the arrows. These coming down in this direction, I've got it to yield. I'm going to set it for free flow for right now, because what will wind up happening is these folks will allow gaps that will allow them to come through. I can either say free flow, let that go through, or I can set give way to this direction. Either one will resolve that, so I get a more consistent indication of what actually goes on out in the field. So let's process that once again. We can now see that those cars are going through. And as I look at it, this is far more indicative of what's happening out there. I've got traffic that's backing up, once again, several hundred feet in either direction, north and south, and then these folks too, they'd be feeding in as well. This is indicative of what we get out there. So we will stop the simulation. And what I can do is, coming back to the InfraWorks side, I'm going to run the simulation from within here, and that will allow me to create the automatic traffic movement in this location. All right, to do this, it does expend or consume 1 cloud credit. The credits are based on the area and the number of zones or intersections that we're working with. The minimum is one cloud credit. So we're going to run that right now, and it'll take just a second to run the simulation, and then we'll be able to review that from within here. All right, once again, as we went through and put together this example, wanted to try and create something where we could use this to, in effect, evaluate a real-world scenario, while at the same time do it all in real time. All right, we'll go ahead and hit play. As I come up and look, I can now see this in real time. All right, so I've got my vehicles moving through. From here, I can start to do a little bit of analysis that I can see, what's happening per approach, what my queue distances are. In effect, I'm getting, effectively what I experienced out in the field, or what we saw from the video. All right, so let's take a look at what we can maybe do to resolve this. I'm going to come up and we'll edit this. We'll create a new proposal so I can lay out some new geometry here. We'll call this alternate. We'll say OK. With alternate created, what we want to do is see if by any chance a roundabout help us address the situation. So we're going to go ahead, set this back to geometry. I'm going to select a roundabout, and I'll use a size that is a little bit smaller because I don't want to be disturbing much in the way of the houses and that there. So we'll do the urban compact. We can use some grips to maybe refine this a touch as far as its location. All right, we'll call that good for right now. I will do a little bit here in dragging some of my approaches back a little bit just to make sure they're within my area that I'm evaluating, my traffic boundary, and that I'm not, oops, maybe that's a little too far. Make sure that I'm not double picking on that. Let's grab my intersection here again. We'll drag that out. Let's grab this guy, bring him in just a little bit, and then we'll do the same right here. I just want to make sure that I don't have too short a distance where it gets confused what to do. So that looks good. What we're going to do is we will push this up to the cloud, sync that to our project. So we'll go ahead and sync that. Now we've already set our traffic parameters when we ran the first model, so we're in good shape with that. So what I want to see in this particular case is if the same traffic parameters that we used in our first evaluation, the same traffic information now used with this new configuration, if that is going to improve the situation or not. So let's take a look at our traffic analyst panel. Now in doing so, we should see that there are a couple more intersections that are created. Basically those intersections will be the entering into and out of the roundabout. Those two should automatically be populated, so we shouldn't have to go in and be configuring those. That should happen for us automatically. So as we come in and look at this guy, let's select layer. We'll come in and turn our images on. Let's look at control. If we see intersections, we see some additional ones now. Those are the ones that make up our roundabout entrances and exits. They're all set for free flow. All of that looks good. Let's come back to simulation and let's process the same simulation we did initially. And as I look at this, now using the same traffic data that we worked with before. All right, it's actually I'm not getting, doesn't look like I'm getting as much coming from the zone down here at the bottom. I might need to drag that one entrance back just a touch. Let me stop this. Let's come back in. I'm going to go back into edit here. Make sure that I don't have something. My geometry will back him up just one more touch there. We'll close out of that and then sync this back to my project. Sometimes if my distances get pretty close, it can get impact my analysis with respect from where the roundabout ends and where it starts back up again. So we'll make that quick adjustment. Let's go back into our traffic analysis. And go back into the Analyst. All right, once we're in, we don't need to check it. We'll go ahead and hit the simulation. Let's see what we get. Give that just a second. Now the Analyst itself, in what we're using, is not just for vehicles. It can also be used for crosswalks, and in the 2017 release can be used for far more than that. Let's go ahead and run that. There we go. So as I come in and look, We can see now that using the same traffic parameters that we had initially that was causing us backups, and in some cases substantial backups in either direction, I've now got a scenario where I can run the same traffic flow, and we can see that the situation, if we were going to go with a roundabout, may be a acceptable solution to improve the traffic flow in that area. So let's drop out of this. We'll move that back into our InfraWorks. We'll run the simulation so that I've got the vehicles included in here. That'll take just a moment to do, and then we'll be ready to go, and we can compare the differences between what we had for stacking in each case. Now, once the simulation's been run, it stays in here. So if I were to open this model again, I wouldn't need to rerun the simulation. I could automatically come back in and redisplay the results from what I had initially. So in switching proposals back and forth, if I wanted to provide this as a example for my customer, the municipality, whatever the case may be, I could quickly move back and forth and show them the impacts of some different traffic configuration, maybe layout of the roadway, what that would do and how that would impact it. Okay, so we'll come back to my resulting approach, and we can see that, you know, I've still got some stacking in this area, but my average delay is not tremendous. But the several hundred feet in either direction in this area, it's been drastically improved. So we may be able to further refine it and improve it beyond what we have. All right, the main point, and I guess the thing that I would want to get across is, if you think about it, we started roughly 32 minutes ago with essentially nothing, and even going through the process of explaining, you know, what it was that I was doing, I was able to model it completely from scratch, get something that's consistent with what we were experiencing out in the field, and then come up with one solution to, I don't want to say verify, but show that a roundabout would be a potential way to resolve the traffic flow in this area, or make this area the traffic flow improved. So let me roll back to this. We had said at the beginning our goal was to create a scenario where we had a 30-minute presentation where we could come in, take a look at some things, and then allow you to, from a lunch and learn perspective, allow you to get back, still have some time to eat. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope it was helpful. This session will be recorded, and it will be posted up to the blog soon. The address is on the screen here where you'll be able to find that. Jeff and I would like to thank you for your time, attention, and support, and we look forward to presenting future webcasts sometime within the next couple of months. We'll post something else up on the blog for you guys to check out. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and thanks, and we will talk to you again soon. See ya.